Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Very Hard
Hello,
Podcast.
hello.
Welcome to ReHuman Podcast, Repairing Harm Edition. Welcome to ReHuman Podcast. We're here again with the amazing Supreme Hassan. We have Maria Lopez as well as James Lambert. Very excited to learn more about the Repairing Harm Conference coming up in Boston, June 25th and 26th. And Supreme, let us know what we should be expecting.
Oh man, I cannot tell you how excited I am right now in this moment just to be on this call with you three great and amazing human beings. And I don't say that for sound bites. I say it because it's real. Um, Everything about repairing harm is about a web of relationship. And when I think about just us four on this call right now, I'm like, this is what osmosis looks and feels like. It just happens. I remember one of the first nights after 33 years of incarceration, one of the best nights I had coming home. James was emceeing an event in an outdoor space in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with nothing but black and brown excellence. And I thought it was the greatest thing I had seen. I was like, yo, this is what I've been dreaming about on the inside. This is what I've been looking forward to, being around young black and brown professionals, young black and brown brothers and sisters that are hustlers, that are getting to it and doing it together. So when I seen this brother host this event, I knew right then and there I was gonna ask this brother to be the MC for the first annual Repairing Harm Conference. And I'm glad to have you back for the second one, my man.
Much appreciated, brother. Yeah, no, first off, kudos. I appreciate that. It's funny, I didn't even realize that until you reminded me last time that that's where we met. Hold on, I got to hand this over to somebody because I don't want them to interrupt this call. Give me 1 second.
All good, all good. Our brother James is in motion. He is just a very, very prolific person. I've done my research on him since we last met last week through Supreme Hassan, of course. And I'm just really, really excited to hear more about what he's doing. He's been making really major moves in Boston and globally. Maria, I'm really, really excited to learn more about your role and interesting. You could also help co-facilitate this conversation. I know that
Okay.
you're like deep into repairing harm and a really close partner, Supreme. And I'm really excited to learn more about you and what it is that you're doing for responsible parties.
Yeah, so really helping out with all the little moving pieces, all the logistics, making sure that um, we're getting we're getting everything together and everything's being planned out. One of my roles last year was being a circle keeper. So I went through the circle keeping training with the Supreme, brought on some more friends along, and the day of the conference, it was really cool to meet everybody and meet folks from other states too. There was people coming in from different states, co-facilitating, leading, and yeah, it's been a really cool experience.
For those that are like me, who may not be familiar with all the terminology, what is a circle keeper and why is it so important to be trained in circle keeping? And
Hmm.
feel free, Maria, Supreme, James, whoever, to jump in about with that and just educate myself and the public.
Well, I can start off with some background, and I'll pass it to Supreme to give some more in-depth background. But circle keeping is a restorative justice practice. It's held in a circle. It's based in indigenous practices too. People have been doing this for hundreds of years. And it brings together different stakeholders. There's some set of rules that we follow to keep the structure of the circle. We have a talking piece to make sure everybody gets time to talk and we're not talking over each other. So the structure really holds the robust conversation that comes out of it. And I'll pass it to Supreme for some more context.
Oh, dope, Maria. I love the fact that you led that. Circle keeping is nothing new, though academics would say the origin of restorative justice in North America started in Ontario, Canada in 1974. That may be true, but the roots, a tree cannot bear fruit without its roots. The roots of these practices come from our indigenous aboriginal people the world over. And as Maria said, the circle process is one where everyone's equal. I think that's so important in this society of othering to really understand and really drop into. The circle process that we utilized during the Repair and Harm Conference is a talking circle. A talking circle allows everyone who wants to be heard the opportunity to be heard uninterrupted. And what I've found in leading hundreds, if not thousands, of restorative talking circles is that oftentimes this is the very first time that a person has had the opportunity to let herself or himself be heard on a topic that meant something to them in a space where everybody else was an outside witness to the inside mind of that individual. And that is really dope. Our world moves too fast, oftentimes in the family life, in the workplace life, and in our community, we talk past and at each other. The circle slows it down so we can listen and really understand the why about who we are as we make up that circle. So the process is super dope. It can be retrofitted from anything from a business meeting to a community meeting to a consensus building process. I love it.
Yeah, and throughout the conference, we also use it as a part of our legislative breakfast. Like legislators are involved in this. Um, our mothers, our strong mothers from the community take part in it. And then also it's a good way to bring people together in other parts of the conference to learn more about what they're experiencing on the day-to-day across the region. And yeah, it's a chance to connect too.
I really, really love that emphasis. James, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the human mind needs an outlet and a download, and the circle kind of does that, right? Especially like the topics that are brought up. I think even the most recent one I went to, it can go in any direction, but all be relative to the space. I was also going to say, so my background was in education, then I got into politics. In the educational space, there are obviously situations that would arise, and I learned really quickly what restorative justice looks like because you had to bring it back to a situation where these folks now could coexist. What I didn't learn until I started doing the circle keeping was, at least in such detail, was when you put the entire community. So let's say a fight happens between two people. Okay, cool. I can restore that relationship. But then those that were around it, that were part of it, were also somewhat harmed, victimized, villainized, whatever you want to identify as. So when you create the circle to be able to identify like all those impacted, it really restores a community, especially if situations like racial harm, situations like violence, all of those things, when you create that community, it really has a way of not putting a Band-Aid on something, but kind of unpacking it so the healing can actually begin. And again, I've been RJ trained in other spaces. That's why I rock with your boy Supreme so heavy, because what he's doing, and I don't care how many credentials or how many letters that folks have at the end of the name, what he's doing is the definition of a proactive approach to being able to say, how do we sustain the community? It is very overpassed. It is very overlooked. A lot of folks try to dismiss it. But until you've been in a situation where, and I know he was incarcerated, I was dealing with youth, but a lot of youth don't give a damn. They got that I don't give a mentality. So when you put them in a situation now where it slows down, they're heard and they get to learn, and then now the community takes part in it. You see them have pride in the investment they have in that space. That's what the circle does.
No, I love that so much because like you definitely so in alignment because James, you really just answered the question that I was going to ask.
I read your notes. I read your notes.
No, because I was thinking like, what if people don't understand what restorative justice means? You know what I mean? And you really just came in with the example and the definition in a way that, applies to, a practical way that everyone can understand. So
Can I say it this way? Let's say me and Supreme were to have a physical altercation, right? You weren't there. Let's say you're the person who's a quote unquote authority. So I can have my side, he's gonna have his side, but we really know what happens. And my brain, what restorative justice used to mean is, or in part still does, is the truth has to be able to come out so he can own his part, I own mine. We have mutual accountability, but then we have recommitments. And then that's how you include certain spaces. So obviously the circle has a greater accountability, so it does that from a communal stance, but that's an individual stance. So if somebody's looking for the fragmented version of here's what RJ looks like, it's like, what does true restoration mean? And then how do you hold accountability for space?
Yeah,
In
beautiful.
space.
Beautiful. And
So
so
to add some more, to add to that, when you think about restorative justice, which is controversial, people say restorative justice is being soft on crime. Well, I'm gonna tell you firsthand, there was nothing more difficult for me to do than to be able to drop into a space of acknowledging the harm I caused in my own life, my family's life, and my community's life, and then to stare the reality, my reality in the face, knowing that I played the role in the murder of another human being. And the shame and guilt that I lived with that while locked up in prison, and particularly the first 5 years of my sentence, where I spent 23 hours a day locked in what's called the box or segregation. Man, to be confronted with that truth and know in my gut that I had to stand up and accept responsibility for it. And then I had to figure out a way of how do I repair that harm. So when we think about the theory of restorative practices, restorative justice, it simply says that someone has been harmed. We call them the harm party. That person has a set of needs in order to get to a better place of healing, have their questions answered. Why did this happen? How did this happen? So in order for this to take place, a responsible party, the harm doer, has to be at a place of accountability and really want to stand up and accept responsibility for the harm that she or he has caused. This means that someone is obligated. That obligation falls squarely with the responsible party. Then there's reintegration. All parties have to be reintegrated into communities of care. Now, what does that look like when we have the agency of a middleman in position called the criminal legal system? What does that look like when we have a middle woman in the picture that's called the CEO of a Fortune 500 company? What does that look like when we have a middle person in the community who is a community agitator and doesn't want to see peace in the community, doesn't want to see the violence stop? So what I love about restorative justice is that it's people-centered, people-driven. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of resources. You just need the core restorative values of respect, trust, care, and humility to drop it into that process. And it's really fundamental to the human spirit. I've realized in these circles that once I hear the agency of a person's story, I can't unhear that story. I can't disconnect with what I felt based on what they shared in the space. And each time, not to sound cliche-ish or corny, I leave a better human being.
yes.
Can I ask you a two-part on my phone? I'll wait. I just want to ask him a question. Can I jump in? Preem, two-part question, and hopefully I ain't going too far with this. When you first were incarcerated, when you first got locked up, did you deny the harm that you had caused? Did you deny committing the murder?
And the comma after that in two contexts, in two parts, right? Deep down, I knew I committed harm. Then I got in contact with a criminal legal system that was telling me the harm that I committed looked like this on its judicial scale. And I had a problem with that. But what I couldn't get away from was knowing that I committed harm. In fact, it would have been November 1st or 2nd, 1990, when I was placed in Nashua Street County Jail. I was put inside of a cell, beige scrubs, door slammed. I had to sit with the reality of knowing that I caused that harm. And all I wanted to do was apologize to that brother's mother. And I spent years, months, and days imagining what that apology would look like. So when I accepted responsibility for it, I knew I had caused some serious harm.
And then the second part was because obviously we're here today because of something you're creating. So if there was a denial in the beginning, I know you talked about, obviously the AA program talks about identify harm we caused and be willing to make amends because that got us here. What was the transition to you wanting to make amends? Like, what did that feel like?
You know, it's like dropping into a deeper level of consciousness. I was constantly aware that I caused this brother harm, but I also caused his mother harm and his community harm. And that stark reality came crashing down on me in 1992 when my brother was murdered. And I felt the impact of that action on my mother. And I just couldn't deny what I needed to do. I think it was said earlier, restorative justice is age old. It's what our parents told us. When you do something wrong, apologize and work to never do it again.
I really appreciate the intentionality of your work and even the terms under which you define your work. I think it's really powerful in the names that you're using. And I think that it's really important that people reflect on the way you name your consulting group, the way you name the conference. It's really clear what the objectives are. I heard a lot of things here. I heard to remediate the othering that's been happening over generations, if not hundreds of thousands of years. I heard creating space and holding space and allowing others the opportunity to take up space and get there and make sure they're heard. And, even if it's for the first time. Could you give us an idea of what we should expect at Repairing Harm Conference? Those that attend for the first time, those that, you see again from last year, and even those that may be visiting from when you were doing the same work, while still incarcerated. Would you mind sharing, a bit about, as a second part of the question, about the way the conference was going while you were still locked up?
Absolutely. But I really want to take a second just to come back to Maria.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Maria just came back from Colombia, Bogota, Colombia. She can tell you what she was doing down there, right? And even as I'm sitting in this space, I know my brother James, he's a traveler. He gets around. Mm-hmm. Des, you talk about Belize and Mexico, all right? I remember when Maria came to the training, she climbed out of, I don't know if it was an Uber, a Lyft, or a friend dropped her off with all her luggage.
Wow.
And as I got to know her, she was like, yeah, I'm going to be going over here when I'm done.
And I had forgotten about that.
No, I haven't. Honestly, I feel privileged even in this moment of us in this intricate web of relationship that we're developing, but to look at how organically such immense talent, skill, and sincerity are being brought to center because of this work of restoration of the individual, of the familiar, and of the communal is taking place. And that was the intention nearing 14 years ago, mm-hmm. when in 2010, on Christmas Eve of all days, a gang riot disrupted arguably one of America's safest prisons, MCI Norfolk. MCI Norfolk is really most noted for, outside of Massachusetts, as the prison where Malcolm X served his time at, and is also noted for its resident inmate council. And what the council allows us to do is act as elected officials. Anytime there's a rupture in the community, work to repair that rupture. That gang riot caused a rupture that I could not stand to see happen. And it was young people caught up in violence in a place that was supposed to provide a safe container for rehabilitation, a safe container for knowledge of self, a safe container to really turn around the reasons why we were there in the first place. And nothing could be further from the truth. I knew it had to come from us. So following that riot, I knew I had to talk to the people who ran the prison, and that wasn't the prison administration. That wasn't the warden. That was the Italian mob. That was the Irish gangsters. That was all the street organizations that existed inside of Massachusetts. That was the impact players from major cities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts: Boston, Lawrence, Lowell, Springfield, Worcester, Chicopee. And when I talked to my guys, they were like, Supreme, we're with you, whatever you're doing. And I was like, no, bro, I don't need y'all to be with me. I need us to be about it, because the mission is to get everybody home safely, but to get us home and keep us home. Mm-hmm. And I realized that no, the only way that was going to happen, we had to dig deep and see what was causing us the psycho-emotional harm, mm-hmm. and the emotional harm of being separated from society, from our family, from our children. Mm-hmm. And there's no better way than to connect with mothers. The agency of a mother cannot be denied by anybody, my judgment. So very early on, when the proposal was approved by the prison administration, we had to connect with mothers who lost children to homicide. Sadly, a lot of us who were the impact players inside of the prison were also the impact players on the street who were locked up for homicides. Mm-hmm. That act of surrogacy, of bringing harmed parties and responsible parties together, ignited a movement inside of Massachusetts prison that has since spilled over into the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, when now we can find restorative justice being codified in our judicial system through our Supreme Judicial Court. As James had spoke to earlier, a lot of universities early on had restorative justice centers. In my judgment, they weren't doing enough because they wouldn't engage the harmed parties and responsible parties. And the theory of restorative justice says that the harmed party, above all, is to have the most elevated voice in the discourse seeking justice, seeking to repair what was ruptured, seeking to heal what was harmed. Mm-hmm. Then following was the responsible party and all of our community support. This wasn't happening. So when this movement started, I knew that this wasn't about having a program inside of prison. It was about giving micro reparations act to my community once I left prison. Mm-hmm. I remember being on a call with my sister in 2014, my beautiful sister Donna, and her sharing my work with her. And she was like, "You're a stupid motherfucker. That work is needed inside of our family." Mm. And I so appreciated that. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to say when I came home, the first healing circle I got it was with all the women inside of my family. Wow. And we've just been on a roll ever since.
That's dope shit.
Mm-hmm. So the conference started in 2012 inside of the prison, and still continues. Now, we knew the mission was to export it out into our communities because everybody couldn't get inside of the prison.
Mm-hmm. Of course, of course. Maria, I would love to learn more about how you discovered repairing harm on the way or en route from Columbia, or why you were in Columbia, and how the first experience was for you when you got out of that Uber or Lyft, and when you just, first walked into the space. What was the energy like for you? What new people can expect, and just all the things. I would love to learn a lot more about your journey.
Yeah, sorry if my internet cuts out, but I found out about Responsible Party through the initial circle keeping training that I took last year. I was a part of a prison abolition group at school during my graduate studies, and someone from that group shared this. So I brought some friends. I was actually, now that Supreme reminds me, I think I was headed to a flight right after that. I tend to be a voyager in some ways. And so I have my luggage with me. I'm ready to take this training. And it's It's beautiful. Like the atmosphere is so welcoming. Supreme greeted me at the door. Can I help you with your luggage? No questions asked. Like, why is she coming in here with some luggage? Like hospitality, you'll learn is a very big piece of circle keeping. It's a part of the conference as well. Like, how can we make sure that the people that are taking part feel like this could be their home too? Like, how could we make sure we build that camaraderie from the beginning? Then I walked through the doors and there's a lot of food on the table. You know, food is a really good way to connect with people. You know, like let's get to talking about what brought us here over some chocolate muffins, right? Um, and so, yeah, it was like a very immersive experience. I remember Supreme saying, we're not practicing circle keeping here today. I don't believe in modeling or making believe what we're going to be doing in real life at the conference. We're actually going to practice it today. So the circle keeping practice is actually engaging in it and being immersed in it in the moment. So you're learning by doing. And it was really amazing to get to share parts of my story and hear from others too. And um, yeah, it was really a feeling of I I am one with all and all are one with me. You know, it's like it was just like a feeling of oneness in that space. And that's what kept bringing me back into the space.
I
Can
love
I
it.
can I say this too?
Yes.
Preem, I know you just actually segued this, but this year's joint, let me tell you, so it's not gonna be boring. Hey, they got me on microphone, so we're gonna make sure that joint amp. We and the definition of engagement back and forth. You have a lot of folks in there. It's not a somber space. It's a space where you got a lot of talented people. You got a lot of people that are just very authentic, very human, very down to earth, and everybody's coming for learning. So you're gonna have people from all different walks of life, all different credentials, all different outside, inside, you name it. There's also going to be some really fire panels, and the panels not only do they have dope discussions, but you have dope people that are facilitating the panels, so they actually pull out the real human organic experience within it. I know last year, for example, they had Rachel Rollins, and if anybody knows Rachel, she's a beast in every space. And as a matter of fact, I walk in to the most recent circle keeping we were doing, and Rachel's in that space, and it's everything's so connected, everything's so real. So you have so many people with influence, and also so many people with lived experience. So when I tell
Mhm.
you it's going to be animated, it's going to be real. There's going to be everything from tears to vulnerability being shared, and it's there's 2 days of this shit, right? So it's
Mhm.
going to be an experience that folks can actually take. And to this point, I don't care if you're using it in the most extreme conflicts at work or outside, but then you can also bring it into the fragility of what we call home dynamics. Man, that
Yep.
joint hits from the rubber to the road.
James, I'm fully convinced that you are reading my imaginary notes. Uh, I just want to know, like, so who did y'all want to see here this year? Like, who do you want to see there? From near, from far? What kind of audience are you targeting? Um, just really like, what's that call to action? How are we going to get the folks in the seats? What do they need from you? What do you need from them? What are the requirements? Where can they go to sign up and to learn more about this year's conference?
Okay, I'm going to jump in here real quick on the audience. So, my particular focus is bringing in the young people. Okay, so we see right now in schools traditional school discipline policies. Let's kick somebody off of a sports team. Let's kick somebody out of school or in school suspension. This doesn't work. Like we see how getting people out or like kicking students out of school is not working. So earlier this year, I had the chance to work with over 100 youth from all over Massachusetts on a circle keeping training for as an alternative as a restorative justice approach um, as a replacement to traditional school punishment for vaping specifically. Why are students getting kicked out of school for vaping and nicotine use? You know, why are students getting kicked off of a sports team for that? So bringing this restorative justice practice back to their schools, we hope that it starts locally and it starts in the school system. So any school administrators, any teachers, students. Last year we had a lot of young people show up. So this is a great place to learn more about this, to be immersed in it. And it's a lot of fun too, like James was saying. So it's a great time to bring the students.
Oh, y'all get me excited. Let me jump in and tell the people what to expect. I'm gonna pick right back up on what Maria said. We have a phenomenal lineup of panel discussions. First up, emerging leaders leading now. This is where our young rock stars, who I always say to them directly, you're not waiting for anybody or anything to lead, you're leading now. So we have the phenomenal first-year law student, Jamila Small, out of New York City, Brooklyn, New York. We have the phenomenal community organizer and second-year law student, Aaliyah Aguilar, also from New York.
Wow.
Then we have our brother here locally from the city of Boston, Brother Hamza, who his brother got out of prison 6 months ago. He is going to Harvard to get his master's degree. He is a researcher at Yale University, the Ohio State University. Then we have our brother Kevin Pio, who is the reentry and youth coordinator for the Transformational Prison Project. Just a phenomenal critical thinker. Then we have our brother Rondo, who is the Gen Z director for the Reform Alliance organization. I cannot tell you how much I'm excited about this panel. This year's theme is called Transformational Leadership. So we have a panel, of course, called Transformational Leaders. James Folder in this space, someone I am honored to work with. Rachel Rollins will be on that panel. My brother, Dr. Taimullah Abdul Rahman, will be on that panel. My sister, Leslie Rivera, who is the Senior Program Director at the UTEC Training Center for Excellence. And we'll also have my brother, Jose Bo. 3 years after his incarceration, he gained tenure at Holyoke College here in Massachusetts. He is a phenomenal restorative justice practitioner. James named race and restorative justice. One of my superheroes in this space is Dr. Fania Davis. Dr. Fania Davis is known for a lot of things. I'll name two. One, her great book, The Little Handbook of Race and Restorative Justice. If you haven't read it, go get it. And she's also the founding executive director of Restorative Justice for Oakland Youth. She's traveling all the way from Cali to be with us here in Boston. By the way, folks, she is the sister of Angela Davis. She is the woman who organized the International Free Angela Davis campaign. This is a woman that is a giant in this space. Now, other keynote speaker would be Brother Mark J. Wamaka, coming all the way from Rwanda. He's coming to talk to us about, y'all banging in America, there's banging going on in Rwanda. And that banging resulted in a genocide. We're going to talk about how do we create healing zones. And then there's this rock star lineup of local leaders, from Mac Hudson to Sean Ellis, my brother David DeValley, who was the first formerly incarcerated person to be hired by Tufts University, my sister Chatira Thomas. The lineup goes on and on and on.
I gotta say this too, Preem. My fault. I know you want to keep going. One thing there's too, Preem doesn't email people. It's not like he's over here sending ravens. My man spends qualitative time to get to sit down and know folks. And he only been out for what? You ain't been out 2 years yet, right?
Has been 2 years.
My man is on the ground. He's on the ground. I think folks don't understand the definition of qualitative networking. We all call it A lot of things seem like they have they're transactional. There's nothing transactional with the brother. So when I tell you he gets the definition of buy-in,
Mhm.
that's why all these folks are willing to come from far and wide because yeah, they believe in what he's saying, but then when you believe in the person behind it. So I just want to give you flowers in that regard, man. And again, I don't stand behind many things there. I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of folks can be very performative. Like when I say this is one of them things, I mean it.
I agree. I mean, that's how I know y'all now. Like since I met Supreme, we met back in February in person, and before that, through our coalition through Reform Advocacy Institute. But like Supreme is quick to pick up the phone. Oh, I'm about to three-way somebody in. I'm about to do. Hey, Des, he's really good at building relationships, and I believe in him so much. I'm really excited about this, and since so many of our viewers are here in Pennsylvania doing this work, I would love for them to know what you're doing right here with our young folks in Philly and your plans for Philadelphia and as it relates to responsible party and repairing harm through project statements.
Man, we couldn't end this without talking about the Philly Connect. My partner's in Philly. Philly has become a second home to me. And how Desi and I met as partners through the phenomenal Coalition E for Reform Advocacy Institute. Coalition E is going to be presenting, talking about the Safer Supervision Act. We also have my brother Don Ike Jones, who is the first juvenile lifer to be released from the Pennsylvania prison system. Our brother who was wrongly convicted, brother Kevin Amir Bauman, known for his history in the past, but the history he's making today as the executive director of Just Better Men, and my brother Jalik Mickens. We call him Brother Jaleel, also coming through Philly. And of course, yours truly, Desiree Riley, Coalition E in the building. When we talk about restorative justice, it is relational. It is about building those relationships. And I'm humbled by James acknowledging that, because we don't acknowledge in this really performative society, in the space that we operate in, called social justice, criminal legal system reform, restorative justice work. A lot of this shit is goofy. But the way to get that out of this space is for us to come together and have these transformative conversations. And this is our mission with the Repair and Harm Conference. You can go to Eventbrite right now and register for the Repair and Harm Conference. Go to Eventbrite, Repair 2025 Repair and Harm Conference. You can check us out at www. Responsible Party Consulting Group. Hit the Repair and Harm Conference tab and register right from the website. James, go for it. I see you, brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this to Prince's point. You were talking about the colleges and all that. You said it in a really political way. I'm not coding. So what you'll have all these colleges and institutions, organizations, legal systems identifying what restorative practices look like for our people and our communities. So let me say it in a different way. You have these white folks that come together to determine what restorative practices look like in Black and brown communities. That is not a real recipe. You're not eating the same foods while we have the same practices culturally and community. So there's a huge difference. So when he was talking about the colleges part, I wanted to jump in and say Basuda, but my microphone was on mute, so it didn't come out. But I just wanted to throw that out there directly. And us doing it is so much ingrained.
No doubt. So we're talking. Go ahead.
No. Please don't let me interrupt you, because y'all are on fire, and I want to make sure that the message is out.
So James and Maria talked about the conference, and it's over 2 days. I've been studying how to develop a conference in our community that doesn't price out our community. So the registration for the conference starts at $0 and goes all the way up to $346 or $48, right? It's $0 if you live in a Roxbury community and you're a Boston Public School student. If you are a student at our post-community college, Roxbury Community College, and shout out to the Fort program, whose executive director, Rachel Rollins, is really such a critical thinker and partner in this process. If you attend Roxbury Community College, you can go to college for free. If you've just come home from incarceration within 3 years, you can attend for free. If you've been home 5 years, you can get a reduced cost to enter the conference. We're not a nonprofit. We are an LLC. And everything that I've been doing since I've been home has been poured into this process. I still live in a halfway house. I'm happy that I'll be transitioning soon. But I understood the value of making sacrifices up front to keep this dream alive.
Yeah.
And this dream is simply creating something of value, of high value in our community, where we can eventually turn around and employ the people in our community to help heal our community.
Mm-hmm.
This process is very organic. We are seeking sponsorships. Our sponsorship tier is as low as $250, $500, and as high as $15,000. So I'm imploring to whoever is listening to Repair and Harm, whoever will see this as part of a content on any platform, please become a sponsor, become a RPCG or a Responsible Party Consulting Group friend for just as little as $500. Your sponsorship helps us raise money and put on a conference that is for us, by us. And as the conference grows, we'll be in a greater position to give back to the community as we're doing from day one. Again, go to Eventbrite, Repair and Harm 2025 Repair and Harm Conference. Check us out at Responsible Party Global. Check for our community partners to be tagging us on their social media platform. Get involved, get involved, get involved. We need the support. We need to continue to host this conference and continue to grow it. Let's do it organically. Again, as little as $250, $500, you're an RPCG friend. And if you got the money and you have the philanthropy spirit in you, man, hit us hard. Give us that $15,000.
We need it.
Yes. So this is the real deal. Supreme, everybody he works with, they're the real deal. Everyone I've connected with through him, they're the real deal. He's a real modern day healer, guru, all of those things, like straight from the heart. Every week, just about, he pours into our young folks right here in Philly and Project Phoenix. They love him. He's been amazing. I've been growing through my connection with him. I can feel myself evolving. I know that if you tap in with him, you will be moved. You will be touched no matter where you come from socioeconomically. You will be moved. You will be better after you've connected with him. Pour into him. From the moment I met him and I heard his story and I understood his work, I bet on him. I'm like, I'm gonna do everything I can to help this brother succeed, and I will, and I continue. And I'm so appreciative for this conversation. Always appreciative for every moment, even when he texts me in the morning, even if he calls me, even if he pops up on a random three-way. I'm like, you know what? I love Supreme. I'm all in on Supreme. So thank you so much for this. All of you, I got a little one over here talking on the side, trying to go outside. And thank y'all so much. It's been amazing. Are there any last words for this podcast? I'm sure I'll see y'all again. I'll definitely see y'all next month. Any parting words that check out, so that people can see how you move?
Well,
Go ahead, Maria.
Well, I just want to thank you, Desiree, for bringing us together and really giving us a platform to share what this conference is about. It really means a lot to be able to share this with your viewers and your listeners. So thank you for that.
It's all love for sure.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I'm extremely excited about it. It's going to be fire. It's going to be folks I've never met coming from my walks of life, like I said. So I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to share. I'm excited to get everybody animated. We're going to do it. And y'all bringing Philly, right?
We're going to bring Philly, yeah. And then we're going to bring
Hey,
to Philly. We ain't talked about that yet.
Right.
Hey, listen,
There's a lot.
Philly, my second favorite city. If y'all would just sweep a little bit more, I'll be all right. But I rock with Philly heavy.
We working on it. We just pick it up. We just did 4,000 tires a few weeks ago.
Sister, listen. For all the parking tickets y'all got enough income coming into the city to be able to do street sweepers. So,
I love it.
Talk to the government.
We got a new baby. She's doing good.
So I definitely want to say, one way we end our conference is talking about next steps. And there are some great developments and work that we're going to roll out the last day of the conference. You don't want to miss them. And we're going to introduce our Healing Zones initiative. Healing Zones initiative is why this work got started in the first place. We got to stop the violence in our communities, amongst our families, at the workplace. So we're looking to end systemic and structural violence by addressing proximal violence. Again, this is the people power movement. It is powered by the people. I want to give, before I close out, a great big shout out to my sister Desiree. We affectionately call her Desi. From the moment we connected through our weekly Zooms and met in person, I knew your spirit was akin to my own. I knew your work is akin to my own. The Mastermind Cooperative is something that we need to get behind, push, grow, and expand. So stay tuned to this announcement, what's coming up next, Responsible Party and the Mastermind Cooperative in Philly. Thank you, sis.
Thank you so much.
November 10th, 2025.
Yes. Dates for the conference: June 25, June 26.
Yep.
8 o'clock to 5. Breakfast, catered breakfast, lunch, dinner. But you're going to be eating from the soul of the real ones. You're going to be eating from the soul of authenticity. You're going to be eating from the soul of justice. June 25, June 26, Repair and Harm Conference on Eventbrite, live now. Peace.
Peace. See
Thank
y'all.
you.
Appreciate y'all, man. Can't wait for it.
Love.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.